if you think of entrepreneurs, they not only solve the problems, give people jobs, but also inspire.
Yeah, entrepreneurship for me is the most creative process that we have in society. I'm Tim Rowe, the founder and chair of CIC, and I'm here in CIC Warsaw, where I'm interviewing one of our prominent members of our entrepreneurial community. Bartek, thank you for joining us. Would you mind properly introducing yourself to our audience?
Thank you, Tim. I'm Bartek Lipnicki, Managing Director, Endeavor Poland.
You're one of our best-known CIC clients in Warsaw, and you're doing something really important for the world. I'm so excited to be here and to see you again.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me.
So I think we met for the first time, it was at your global gathering for the Endeavor, all the Endeavor people from all over the world. And tell us a little about where you gathered. It was pretty special.
Yeah, the whole Endeavor world came over to Warsaw. It was June last year. Thanks for being with us. And the purpose was to select the next generation of entrepreneurs that will be supported by Endeavor. And so we had entrepreneurs, investors, supporters from all around the world experiencing Warsaw, having conversation, and some of them would be joining Endeavor to become an Endeavor entrepreneur and have the support of the whole network.
So as I recall, the big part of the gathering with the big speeches was in a very special building. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I think we gave people a flavor of Warsaw and of Poland. Right. So we met in Royal Gardens,
the Royal Gardens,
the Orangery,
yes,
yes, but then also in Warsaw building, claimed to be the highest building in European Union.
The building we're sitting in right now.
Yes, right. That is true. So like most of those people have never been to Warsaw, never been to Poland, and I think we gave them that experience. So now they're back to their garden parties, board meetings, angel syndicates, and they know about Poland, but they also know that tech companies can come out of Poland, and they can name a few like ElevenLabs, Doc Planner, Booksy.
Right. Yeah, this is one of the things that I think the world doesn't know as much about Poland. The people think of Poland as a former communist country, as being at some point more connected with Russia, and then more recently we have this Polish economic miracle where Poland has just had continuous growth for decades, a couple of decades now. But I think they don't necessarily yet realize that Poland is also a source of some of the most advanced startup technology that you see around the world. Tell us a little bit about one example you gave us, ElevenLabs. This is a Polish company that's a darling of Silicon Valley. What's the story of that company?
The company comes from Poland.
Yeah.
So from the identification of a problem, so like lousy dubbing in Polish movies, two Polish founders, entrepreneurs, technology and product behind that, built in Poland, first investors from Poland, and of course then they moved to the world, London, New York City, Tokyo, San Francisco, and now it's one of the top AI voice companies in the world. And what's important is they do come from Poland, and as we say in Endeavor, the multiplier effect is when successful entrepreneurs inspire, mentor, and ultimately invest in the next generation of entrepreneurs. And this is so important because historically nobody has been there, has done that. So people think that it's not possible. Once the first one is there, it's suddenly possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there are countries that now people think of as big startup countries that at one point you thought, well, this is like a kind of a war-torn part of the world, and then the thinking changed, and now it's okay. This is one of the big sources of places where Google might buy a company for tens of billions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that the impressions of a country can change, and I think that what brings a country to the place where it can have that recognition is having the right foundation. So tell me a little bit about Poland's foundation as a startup country.
Yeah, I think what's important is that over 80% of venture money goes to roughly 6 countries, including like US, China, India, UK, Germany, France. And where we operate as Endeavor is we say elsewhere, because we know that great companies can come from anywhere. Yeah. They can come from Poland, and that's fundamental. So we can unlock the global network, finding people who've been there, who've done that, connecting, down to references, capital, specific people that are best fit, to the challenge you're, trying, to attack, and through that we can help those entrepreneurs from emerging underserved markets thrive. And Poland is a great example. We got back free market roughly 30 years ago. First private companies came up, and they had to cope with really many barriers. Nobody has been there. There's no support system, lack of role models, capital, lack of market. And through breaking those barriers and having first entrepreneurs succeed, they not only inspired the next generation, but now they are actively involved in mentoring, investing, starting up yet another business, and that's fundamental for the for the ecosystem to jumpstart and thrive.
Yeah, perhaps Poland is really coming into its own now because we're onto that second generation. Many younger Polish entrepreneurs, do have older Poles that have been building businesses now for kind of, as you say, for some part of a full 30 years. So as you were talking about your organization just now, Endeavor, and the goal of Endeavor to bring entrepreneurship to everywhere else, right? Could you take a step back and just tell me, what is Endeavor? Some people know Endeavor really well, and some people have never heard of Endeavor. So for people who are new to Endeavor, just in a nutshell, what is Endeavor?
Endeavor is a global community of entrepreneurs. We support those entrepreneurs unlocking the global network in access to markets, people, references, capital. We also do invest in those entrepreneurs through a global fund called Endeavor Catalyst. Proceeds of this fund go back to nonprofit to support mission-critical activities. And then we engage those entrepreneurs to tell their stories, to inspire, but also to get engaged supporting next generation of entrepreneurs.
So let's say that I have a new startup that I'm launching, and I guess I need to be in an Endeavor country. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say, but is Endeavor not in those major markets, or is Endeavor not have a program in the United States or in the UK, or does it also have programs in some of those places?
Those global hubs, they recognize as venture capital leaders. We're there connecting people with one another.
Okay.
However, as an entrepreneur, you would be joining Endeavor from one of the emerging markets.
Okay, got it. So let's imagine that I'm an entrepreneur in an emerging market. I've got this cool idea. It's some way to use AI to edit vertical video, really in a high-tech way. So what do? Do I knock on the door of Endeavor? Do I show up at an event? Like, as an entrepreneur, how do I find Endeavor?
If you're a startup in Poland, you connect with Endeavor through entrepreneurs, the other startups on the market. You may be wanting to join one of the Thursday gatherings at CIC, where you can come across a lot of startups, investors. Once your business finds product market fit, initial traction on the market, and you grow internationally, then Endeavor is a good fit.
Okay. So Endeavor likes to work with startups that have reached a certain point, it sounds like, of having found a product market fit. As the leader of Endeavor, what do you look for in a startup to tell you, okay, they've found product market fit?
You find product market fit when the demand from the market is bigger than you can supply.
Okay. So as somebody at Endeavor looking at this, an entrepreneur comes to you, you're looking for sort of a signal somehow that there's clearly a lot of demand for their product, and maybe more demand than they're able to meet. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're an entrepreneur in Poland and you think you've found product market fit and you're ready to go global, One of the groups that you could talk to is Endeavor. There are a couple things that I hear they can do for you. One is they do have a fund. They can invest in you if they think it's a good investment. And the other is that they have a network all over the world, so they can help you uh, really figure out how to connect to new markets. Did I get that right?
That's right.
Okay. What is your story? How did you land as managing director of Endeavor Poland? Where did you come from originally?
I come from an entrepreneurial family. When I was a kid, my father started a business and I was part of it. And then I lived and worked in 6 countries around the world, being part of a Swedish startup and their journey to IPO at Nasdaq Stockholm. Invested in a company called Daily in food ordering delivery space that was acquired by Wolt and then by DoorDash. So I've been there, I've seen that, and Endeavor is a great fit of making the most of my previous experience.
Got it. So you came from an entrepreneurial family. You lived in 6 countries around the world. What were the 6 countries?
From the US to Philippines in Southeast Asia,
Wow.
and Sweden, UK,
Wow.
Spain.
Okay, so really lots of places around the world. Uh, that probably primed you to be thinking about entrepreneurship, and then you became an entrepreneur yourself in a few different businesses, it sounds like. And then coming out of that, you thought, okay, I want to help other entrepreneurs. Do I have that right?
Yes, and I'm really excited about a global mindset and working in international environment.
Yeah.
And Endeavor supports entrepreneurs who are global from day one. They really think global. They are about to solve global problems.
When I attended your global, what do you call it, the global gathering?
International selection panel.
Okay, when I attended the global meeting of Endeavor, which I guess you call the International Selection Panel, I met Endeavor people from all over the world. I remember coming into contact with the team from Egypt, for instance, and I didn't know what to expect. But this team, at least the people I met, were women, which was great seeing women leaders from a Muslim country. And they told me how active Egypt was as an entrepreneurial ecosystem. Um, this was impactful on me because about 6 months after that, we were approached by an Egyptian entrepreneur who was interested in building a CIC facility in Cairo.
Oh, wow.
And I think my initial reaction would have been, oh, I don't know if Cairo is the right place. But thanks to what I learned through Endeavor, I realized that Cairo is actually a very active entrepreneurial ecosystem, and that led us to say, yes, okay, we will seriously engage with you on the possibility of building CIC in Cairo. So I want to thank you for helping me extend my global awareness through what Endeavor is doing.
Yeah, great. It's a great story. And I think it's great to realize that companies can come from anywhere. We have amazing entrepreneurs coming from hubs like Lagos, Cairo, Buenos Aires, and their stories are really, really great. If you think of Egypt, it's a country of over 100 million people, and those entrepreneurs go outside of Egypt, conquer Middle East, go to the US. And we see those stories from countries like Tunisia, company called InstaDeep, founded by Karim Bagir. That was one of the first Gen AI predicting mutations of viruses. Was acquired by a big corporate. And Karim came back to Tunisia, investing in next generation of entrepreneurs.
Tell me what excites you about entrepreneurship itself. It seems like you're really fired up about entrepreneurship as a way to strengthen a country like Tunisia in this case. What is it about entrepreneurship that makes it so important?
It's about starting up, and it's about solving real life problems. If you think of entrepreneurs, they not only solve the problems, give people jobs, but also inspire.
Yeah, entrepreneurship for me is the most creative process that we have in society. When you think about it, you're obviously creative if you're a musician or if you're an artist, and we celebrate creativity in I think all of our societies. When you're an entrepreneur, it's sort of like you have a canvas, like an artist, except that canvas is the whole world. Instead of a piece of cloth, anything that you can possibly imagine in the world could be the subject of entrepreneurship. And if you're sitting on at home on your couch and you're thinking about starting a new business, That could be anything from kind of making a type of food for people to helping them learn to inventing a rocket ship. There's almost no limit to what entrepreneurs can do, and I find that to be so compelling and inspiring. As a young person trying to figure out what might you want to do in the world, I can't think of a path in life that's as exciting as becoming an entrepreneur. And one of the things that I like about what you're doing, Bartek, here in Poland is you've created a platform which helps people in Poland, extend their possibility. Take their idea, which is starting to really have traction, as you say, product market fit here in Poland, and extend that to the world. Are there any examples of companies that you're particularly excited about that are coming through your process and endeavor in Poland?
I'm really excited by some of the endeavor entrepreneurs. We've mentioned ElevenLabs. That's a story of two Polish engineers, and within 3 years they become a global leader in generative audio AI. Another company would be ISI and Rafał Modrzewski, who've built the largest constellation of satellites monitoring Earth. So that's for security reasons, but also can predict volcano eruptions. And those companies are global leaders, and the founders do come from Poland and now conquer the world.
I encountered ElevenLabs first at the main TED conference that they hold each year in Vancouver now. There was a famous Chinese intellectual that they had invited. This man spoke no English, and his daughters, who did speak English, were there present, and they had asked him to speak at the conference. And we knew that he didn't speak English. They had mentioned that, and we were like, "How is this going to work?" And he got up, and he had a mic, and he was speaking in Chinese. But what they played on the speakers was him speaking in English, and they were using ElevenLabs, and it was clear it was him. This was this feeling of his voice, this sort of personality was coming through. And afterwards, they talked to his daughters, and they said, your father doesn't speak English, but was that your father speaking? And they said, yes, that was really my father. That was him speaking English. And it's one of those moments in technology that just felt so magical. And I'm so grateful to these founders. You must know them well, of ElevenLabs, for bringing this to the world. I actually went out recently and I bought a pretty good microphone because I want to try the same thing. I want to be able to have my voice come out in other languages. And so I went on the ElevenLabs website and I got instructions on how to do what they call a professional voice clone. They'll need 2 hours of me speaking with into a good microphone, and then they use that and they can kind of process that.
Yeah.
And then I'll be able to send out a message in Korean, which I don't speak, and that just blows my mind. So thank you for this work. Tell me a little bit about the satellite company you mentioned. You said that they can help predict volcanoes erupting, and that they have, did you say, the largest network of satellites around the world? So how is it that a Polish company has that? Do they own the satellites, or did they contract with others? How did that work?
Yes, actually, Rafał, the founder and CEO of ISI, moved to Finland, and with his co-founder, they built a microsatellite, launched it in space, and started monitoring Earth. The first purpose was to help research ships in the north avoid icebergs. But then they realized there are so many more other applications. And now it's part of defense, security. But I've also, as I mentioned, predicted a volcano eruption on Iceland. So the applications are very very many.
Is kind of like the Tesla Starlink system, except instead of mobile phone communications or internet communications, this is it's looking at the Earth and able to pick up all kinds of information.
Yes. It's incredible that a space tech business is actually so much useful on the ground on Earth.
Yes, well, I can imagine there's so many things that we might want to know, whether it's movement of somebody else's troops, in the wrong direction, or just bad weather, or, as you say, maybe a ship that's in trouble or something like that. Take me through the process that an entrepreneur, would go through with Endeavor. Let's say that they found product market fit. They're getting some traction. They might run into you at a venture cafe gathering here in this building, or they might get to know an entrepreneur somewhere that's already part of the Endeavor network. They would introduce them. They'd be introduced to you. Do you just sort of sit down and have a meeting and they pitch you just like a venture capital fund?
If you're an entrepreneur growing your business,
Yeah.
you're so much focused on your business, you don't want any distractions.
Yeah.
So getting to know that entrepreneur, you as an entrepreneur, I would like to understand what what keeps you up at night.
Right.
Because then I can say, I will not tell you what to do, but I will connect you with someone who've been there, who've done that. So we say it's selection as a service. We want to be helpful, meaningful by connecting you with another entrepreneur. After a few interactions like that, you'd probably ask, so thank you, it's been great. Can I be part of it?
Got it.
And ultimately, you go through a series of interviews with experienced entrepreneurs, investors, business leaders who have the mandate to interview you and say go, no go for you joining Endeavor Network. Once you're in Endeavor, you have the support of the whole network across nearly 50 countries all around the world.
Got it. So it sounds like the beginning of the process when an entrepreneur gets involved with Endeavor is really just to be connected with other specific entrepreneurs that are part of the Endeavor network. And I guess they get some sort of advice and mentoring and just kind of casual engagement. Is that really the first step?
It's primarily getting to know another entrepreneur,
right?
Because that reference works really well. Mm-hmm. Since you're so much focused on your business, you don't want any distractions. You want to understand, is it meaningful to me? Will it help my business? Will it help grow my business,
right?
or not?
Got it. So learning about Endeavor is really meeting with an entrepreneur who's already working with Endeavor. And
yes.
Either hopefully you click, you understand each other, you're like, okay, I like this. And then if that goes well, it sounds like you would sort of have probably several different interviews or meetings with investors and other entrepreneurs, and people get to know you better. And at some point, if everything's going well, they say, okay, we want you to be part of the Endeavor network, and the whole kind of global network opens up to you.
Yes.
Do I understand that correctly?
And Endeavor primarily is a network of, by, and for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So it's driven by entrepreneurs. Whenever entrepreneur has a request, need, a challenge, we'll be there to support them. Mm-hmm. So we always say, ask what keeps you up at night, because through that question, I can understand what really bothers you, what barriers are in front of you, and I can find someone who can help you cope with that.
So the gathering you had here in Poland that I was able to attend part of, I think you referred to it as kind of the global selection committee or something like that. So are the choices to bring new startups into the network made kind of globally? Does everyone make that together? How does that work?
Yes, in order to get into Endeavor, you go through a global selection panel, so a series of conversation on a global level. Yeah. And Polish entrepreneurs, Egyptian entrepreneurs from Chile, Philippines, they all go through a series of conversations on a global level. So to become an Endeavor entrepreneur, you go through conversations on a global level. And once you become an Endeavor entrepreneur, we just support you also globally.
That's exciting. Are there other criteria that you need to meet to be considered for this? I know that you have to have product market fit, but is there a certain size which is too big?
There's no too big or too small. Mm-hmm. In order to become an Endeavor entrepreneur, we look at three dimensions. We look at you as an entrepreneur, so your mindset, your attitude, your experience and drive to make this business a global success. We look at your business. Do you have product market fit? What challenges do you have? Once joining Endeavor, can Endeavor help you grow your business? And third is inflection point. Once joining Endeavor, are you really able to 10x your business, to become a global leader, to become a unicorn? There is no too big or too small. We've just welcomed Vlad Yatsenko, co-founder of Revolut, into Endeavor.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. That's obviously an enormous and very successful business.
Yes, and very, very inspiring. So joining Endeavor, you can be as big as Revolut, or if you're a big global entrepreneur, you can still join Endeavor, not only to get support to grow your business, but also to have a meaningful platform to support other entrepreneurs through your experience, through your entrepreneurial stories, through the network you have. So once you are in Endeavor, you can help other entrepreneurs thrive as well.
So Bartek, Endeavor Poland is obviously based here in this building in CIC Warsaw. You were kind enough as we were preparing for this to say, hey, I could say something about CIC. Why did you choose to be here, and how has this physical place helped you in your work?
Yes, I've been part of CIC since the very beginning, and it's I say not only a place, but it's most importantly people. So we are all, you, me, and I guess all the members of the CIC community focus on what we do. We're accountable for our businesses. However, in between those assignments, we go out to grab coffee, to have a conversation. I think magic happens through those personal connections. That happens at CIC, and I see that in Endeavor. In Endeavor, we make sure that your moments are the moments where you are connected with another entrepreneur, and that's meaningful to you.
So it seems in some ways that while we're very different organizations, there's a kind of complementarity that, this is a physical space that brings people in Poland together, entrepreneurs in Poland together, that in some way feels kind of philosophically aligned with what you're also trying to accomplish at Endeavor. Obviously, we each have our different ways of doing it, but it feels like it goes well together. At least it feels that way to me.
Yeah, I feel there's a fit. That's why, as Endeavor Poland, we're located at CIC Warsaw. Very good coffee. And I think a lot of things happen. You're standing in front of a coffee machine, you come across someone that typically you wouldn't, and you have a conversation. So on a daily basis at CIC Warsaw, you come across first angel investor in ElevenLabs. You come across enterprise chat solution that's used by 500 million people all around the world. You can meet Endeavor Poland as well.
Yeah, our first general manager here at CIC in Warsaw, he's an amazing entrepreneur. Love him to death. This is Aurelius, you know him.
Yes.
When he decided to take his next step after leaving CIC, he became a Polish entrepreneur himself and raised what I think at the time was the largest seed round ever raised in Poland. At least that's what they said. It was, I think, like a $10 million US, seed round.
Yeah.
In his company, Campus AI. He then, in turn, decided, okay, I'm going to put Campus AI, very prominently, back into CIC Warsaw. And it felt really great to see this evolution. Somebody saying, okay, I've got an idea. I'm going to use this platform that is, Poland and Warsaw, and the little platform we've been able to build. For me as an entrepreneur from outside that came to Poland looking to support everything going on here, I just feel so great about what I see, the evolution here in Poland. As you look forward in Poland to sort of what's coming for the country, for entrepreneurship here, do you have a particular vision? Do you have a particular sense of what's next for Poland?
In the next 5 years, I see Poland welcoming first decacorns from companies worth at least 10 billion and more unicorns, because I see first generation of entrepreneurs becoming global, and their stories inspire next generation to build businesses here.
I think that's definitely in the future for Poland. And I guess what I'm excited about is all these bright, hardworking, thoughtful people in the Polish ecosystem that are building products and services to help the whole world. In many ways, what I think is exciting about entrepreneurship is, not only are we helping maybe ourselves as an entrepreneur, maybe we get rich, right? But we're helping a lot of other people. We hire people, so our teams, our employees, they get a livelihood out of this. We're hopefully helping investors who have backed us and given us money, and hopefully they get rich as a result of the success of our business. but we're also helping society. We're helping our domestic country, the place we're in terms of growing its economy. But we're delivering some sort of product or service, just as ElevenLabs does, to the whole world, that makes the rest of the world just a little bit better, a little bit nicer to be in.
Yeah.
I really see there's almost no other career, as I said earlier, that I think has as many benefits for as many people as the career to being an entrepreneur. Tell me, you brought looks like a magazine with you here. It's on the table. Can you tell me what this is and what did you want to share?
Yeah, it's more than 80% of venture capital is into 6 markets. It's US, China, India, UK, Germany, France. As Endeavor, we operate elsewhere across 50 markets all around the world.
The publication that says elsewhere.
Yeah, right. Hence the magazine. Yeah. And one of the heroes of the elsewhere market is ElevenLabs, proudly an Endeavor entrepreneur coming from Poland, operating at the moment globally across multiple geographies. And we feature those entrepreneurs to tell their stories, to inspire other entrepreneurs to believe it's possible, it's meaningful, it's also sexy to start a business. And as you said, just Tim, it can bring you also wealth personally, and then as you grow and invest in other entrepreneurs, you can also engage others, help others become successful.
Bartek, thank you for joining us here today, joining me here today on our little podcast at CIC to talk about exciting people and exciting projects that are, somewhere inside one of our CICs around the world. We're here in CIC Warsaw, and I'm here with the head of Endeavor Poland, a really exciting organization that seeks to support entrepreneurs in emerging countries around the world to build global important businesses. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me. Cheers.